Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So the episode is now officially out. Everyone has watched it on cable, so I wanted to do a breakdown of the ending scene, and I wanted to talk about Rick and Michonne and just sort of the state of the characters, and I just wanted to literally do a video focused entirely on this because there's so much to talk about from that one episode specifically. Like, Rick and Michonne went in a direction that I never thought that they were going. Like, obviously we know in the end everything's gonna be fine, they're gonna be okay, but it's like the stuff that is coming up right now is just very, very fascinating, very entertaining. So it's just, yeah, it's a lot of fun to watch. But anyways, before we go any further, obviously please be aware that this video will contain spoilers, which obviously you guys are already aware of, and definitely make sure to be a subscriber if you want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. I will be doing a Rick and an RJ video. So in my episode 4 trailer breakdown, I just sort of broke down the trailer, talked a lot about the characters and this and that, and what the focus should be in that episode. But what I want to talk about in that video, which will be coming out after this one, within like, what, 30 minutes or something like that, is everything that Rick is going to find out, and that includes obviously RJ, but there's a lot of other things, like the Whisperers, and a lot of stuff that, you know, like Michonne might bring up Daryl, right, and stuff like that. So I want to talk about a lot of that, so I'll do a video on that right after this. By the time you watch this, that video is already done and scheduled to come out, so yeah, within like 30 minutes or so. But the ending of episode 3 ended in such a crazy way that I mean, I honestly, watching this scene, I was like absolutely stunned. I couldn't believe what was happening because it was, I don't know, the whole thing. I just didn't think Michonne would do that, and I didn't know where they were going. And as you're getting close to the end of the episode, you know, like, Gimple he likes to tell, you know, stories like this where there's cliffhangers. And I actually saw a comment the other day talking about, like, this is how a lot of TV shows do stuff like this now, which I would agree with. This is something that a lot of people do more recently. I just remember Daredevil and those shows doing it a lot. So I just think that it's kind of the same type of thing. It's like you get a really good episode and then it ends in a way where you're like, oh, I have to watch the next one. Like, you're forced to watch the next one, right? So they're doing it really good. And again, episode 3 was a really great example of a cliffhanger that was used very well. And the reason it was used very well is because the whole episode was like, it was perfectly written, and, you know, there was an actual satisfying story there. A lot of big moments happened, and it concluded a whole entire arc in that episode. And then, you know, the cliffhanger was just sort of an extra thing that happened at the end. That's always the way you got to do it. You don't want it to just be like nothing, nothing, and nothing. And as you're about to get to something, a big reveal, all of a sudden it's a cliffhanger. You're like, wait, what? Why did I watch? That's what the cliffhangers to me felt like during season 7 and 8 of The Walking Dead. But beforehand, honestly, it was never really like that. So I think that, you know, Gimple's doing really amazing right now. As the showrunner of this show, this is probably, as of now, the best season so far of any season of The Walking Dead. We'll see where it goes, but that's kind of how I'm feeling right now. But yeah, so the ending of the episode, obviously, we see Michonne take Rick out of the helicopter, and I guess she has a plan as to where they're going. And the helicopter is going to be high enough that obviously they're just going to be falling through the sky. So I am assuming she has a parachute, and I'm just thinking that that's probably been her plan the entire time. Is I'm going to get him away. We're going to be on the helicopter going somewhere, and then we'll have this parachute, and so I'll take him out, we'll be falling, and then I'll use the parachute kind of thing, right? That has to be her plan. Like, that's sort of what everyone's talking about right now, is like, does she have a parachute? Does Rick have a parachute? Or maybe Michonne doesn't, but she knows that Rick does, right? Like, it has to be, like, one of them has to, otherwise they're both dead, right? So it's going to be one of them that does actually have the parachute. But yeah, in terms of just the ending scene in general, it was a buildup of a lot of, you know, I guess fighting between Rick and Michonne. And I will say, in terms of Michonne's story, it wasn't really like she was fighting Rick in any sense. Like, she seemed very angry with him and very, very upset, but it was more that she's really trying her hardest to understand Rick right now. She's just like, why don't you want to leave, this and that? And, you know, obviously, I think in episode 3, she learned a lot about the CRM. She learned quite a bit about the CRM and just what they're all about. And I think she's going to learn a lot more here in episode 4, right? And so I think her just being frustrated with Rick, because for her, she's just seeing Rick as being somebody who is, again, just trying, like, yes, Rick did try to, like, break up with her or whatever in this episode, but it wasn't, like, in that sense. Like, obviously, he is trying to keep her safe, right? Like, he's just trying to get her to go back to Alexandria, because if he could actually get her to go back to Alexandria, then Jadis seems to, you know, she'll be fine with it. Like, Jadis just seems to just want Rick to be there, because that benefits her in some way. But Michonne, she needs to go, right? And so if she can go, then Rick, you know, he'll be there at the CRM. He'll do whatever he has to do. But as long as he knows that everyone in Alexandria is safe and fine and happy, then, you know, that's just obviously that's what's most important to him. And so that's why he was sort of trying to like break Michonne's heart there, right? Like he was just doing whatever he could to be able to like get her to go. And it was just, I was so stunned by the scene. I was hurt by it. I was like, why, like, Rick, why are you saying these things right now, right? But Rick really just, again, he wants to keep Michonne safe. And I think Michonne knows that. So I think that's why Michonne's like timeout, like pulling him out of the helicopter, I think it's set up for what's going to be a really incredible episode. Now, judging by a lot of the reactions online, it's the ending of the episode is honestly more shocking, I think, to most people than Rick reuniting with Michonne, because we knew that was going to happen at some point. Yes, a lot of us didn't expect it to happen in, episode 1 at the very end, but I think the ending of episode 3 was just like, whoa, like it was just so out of nowhere. And I'm actually thinking about where they jumped. So obviously, like, they jumped out of the helicopter. I'm not entirely sure where they were going back to, but I think that they are at that station there. I don't think they're going back to, where the CRM main base is in Philadelphia. They are somewhere else at this point. So I think they're more north. I think they're farther away from Alexandria, though. And at least I'm assuming so. And so where they jumped off, I know that eventually they're going to be, I mean, there's mountains everywhere, right? Like so at like totally different location, totally different just scenery in general. And so, I don't think Michonne knows where they're going. I think they're just going to find a building and just sort of hide in it. I've seen some people theorize that maybe that's the place that Nat and Michonne were staying at. I think that they're farther away from that at this point. I think that, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it is actually possible. Rick does say in the trailer, like, what is this place? I don't even think Michonne really knows. I think she just kind of says we needed a timeout. Like, she's just bringing him to a random place to be like, we need to like talk about all of this and whatever, and just, But I will say, if it was the same place that Michonne stayed in for however long in episode 2, that would be something that would be kind of cool, because then it really brings up, a lot of what Michonne went through, because Rick is, trying to like end things with her and this and that, and like send her away. And I don't think he understands how much she went through to try and find him, right? And so I think being in a place like this, if it is the same place anyways, Michonne can be like, I had a hard time trying to survive. We were attacked with, I guess, that gas and all of that from the CRM, literally, and I was stuck in this place for like a year trying to survive, and I almost didn't make it, right? And like, just all of that, like, just seeing all of that, just what happened there to Michonne actually, being told to Rick, I think he'll understand a little bit more as to why she's trying so hard to bring him back, right? And like, you do have to try and convince Rick, and I don't think it's going to be hard, but it's just the Alexandria part to it, because Alexandria can be wiped out if he leaves. And so I am actually wondering about where Pearl Thorne and Jadis are, though, in the very ending events of episode 3, because I know that Jadis is in that location and they went to go kill a bunch of walkers, but they have to be nearby, right? And I'm also really excited for that. Like, them escaping could tease Pearl Thorne and Jadis, I guess, scene, or maybe they sort of team up to try and find Rick and Michonne, right? And it really feels like, with what happened there, with Rick and Michonne now escaping, because that's what happened, right? Rick and Michonne escaped, and I won't focus too much on like, that part of the story in terms of, what's going to happen with them next. But what about the CRM? Because like, they jumped out and now they're gone, right? So this is another escape attempt. Like, Michonne taking Rick out, yes, Rick didn't want to go, or he wasn't planning to go, but like, she literally took him out, and now, that this is another escape attempt. And again, like, maybe there's a way you can keep Michonne alive, obviously, but you have Rick there. So if Rick is able to, say something to keep her around, like, the only reason why Rick never died was because of Okafor, right? So if there's a way that, Rick could make things better here, I think that would be really, obviously, good for Michonne. But I don't think Rick's going to be okay also after this. Like, after this, after Major General Beale was about to promote Rick Grimes, like, I think they're just going to be like, you know what? Out of just this whole situation right now, you two are causing a lot of problems. And again, Beale did mention in episode 3, or Pearl, I guess, mentioned it, but Beale is wondering about Michonne right now. So I think he's going to look at the situation and be like, you two are causing a lot. You two need to go. And I just think that at this point now, if they go back, it's going to mean death. And I think that might be why they're just like, you know what, we probably have to go, because what's going to happen now, right? Like, that's the thing. Michonne's gonna like say to Rick, like, well, we can go back, but like, something could happen to me now, right? There's just a lot. Like, honestly, Michonne taking Rick out of that helicopter, I think, as like shocking as it was, it really is. I mean, I think that's why it was that shocking, is because Michonne doing that, I think it's gonna obviously help them out in the end, and it's causing something to happen now where Rick is forced to sort of deal with this instead of just like sort of living as is, right? Like now he's kind of forced to be like, all right, I guess we're gonna have to take on the CRM or something like that, right? Because now where do they go? Like if they go back, they're gonna die, and so they're kind of forced to go. But like if they're leaving, then Alexandria is gonna be in a really bad place right away, right? So like I don't know what their next plan is. Could they maybe go to Portland and get help in Portland? Like I wonder if that's where they're going. But yeah, anyways, I'll leave it here. This episode here was just absolutely phenomenal. I was completely blown away by what we got here, and yeah, I just wanted to talk about the ending scene and just sort of give my reaction to it and all that. So definitely post your reaction down below to the ending scene. I'll do my Rick and RJ video and sort of talk about a lot of that, and then yeah, tomorrow I do want to talk about more things that happened in episode 3. There's a lot of stuff. There was a Carl Grimes reference. There's some stuff with Shane that I want to talk about. There's a lot, so definitely, yeah, make sure to be a subscriber if you want to get all my walking content like this, and I'll see you guys in the next one.